Have you ever wondered why some wounds never truly heal, even long after the pain has ended? Abuse isn't just something that happens in the past. It lingers, rewiring your brain and shaping the way you think, feel, and respond to the world. Many survivors struggle with fear, anxiety, and self-doubt without realizing that these emotions are not a personal weakness, but a biological response to trauma. Studies show that abuse, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, alters brain function, making it harder to regulate emotions, trust others, or even recall memories accurately. But there is hope. The brain, though wounded, has the ability to heal. Understanding the impact of trauma is the first step to breaking free from its grip. As C.S. Lewis once said, "You don't have a soul, you are a soul. You have a body. Your pain does not define you, and healing is possible." When you experience abuse, your brain's alarm system goes into overdrive. The amygdala, responsible for detecting danger, becomes hyperactive, making you feel constantly on edge, as if threats are lurking around every corner. This heightened state of fear is not just in your mind, it's a biological response designed for survival. But when the danger never truly stops, the brain struggles to return to a state of calm. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, which controls logic, decision-making, and emotional regulation, becomes weaker. This imbalance leaves survivors feeling trapped in a cycle of fear, unable to think clearly or regulate their emotions. Everyday situations that seem harmless to others may feel overwhelming or terrifying. The Bible reassures us, "Fear not, for I am with you." Isaiah 41:10, a reminder that we are not alone in our struggle. Abuse reshapes the way the brain functions, but it does not have to define your future. Healing is possible. By understanding how trauma affects the brain, we take the first step toward breaking free from its grip. Recognizing that these reactions are not your fault, but a natural response to trauma, can be the key to reclaiming your mind and your peace. Abuse doesn't just leave emotional scars, it physically changes the brain, especially the hippocampus, the part responsible for memory and learning. Chronic stress shrinks this vital structure, making it harder to store and recall memories. That's why many survivors struggle with fragmented recollections, forgetting important details or experiencing flashbacks that feel real but incomplete. It's not because they are lying or exaggerating, it's because trauma disrupts the brain's ability to process and store events accurately. In legal cases, survivors may be questioned for inconsistencies, but science confirms that trauma alters memory in ways most people don't understand. Sometimes the brain blocks out painful memories entirely as a defense mechanism, a form of self-protection. While this may numb the pain temporarily, it also makes healing more difficult. As C.S. Lewis said, "Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains." Trauma forces itself into our consciousness, demanding to be processed. But the good news is that the brain has neuroplasticity. It can heal and rewire itself over time. Understanding this is crucial in breaking free from the cycle of self-blame and embracing the healing journey with grace and patience. Abuse floods the brain with overwhelming emotions, fear, shame, guilt, until it can no longer process them properly. To cope, the brain sometimes shuts emotions down entirely, a defense mechanism known as emotional numbing. Survivors may feel disconnected from their own feelings, unable to experience joy, sadness, or even love. While this emotional shutdown can provide temporary relief during trauma, it often lingers long after the abuse ends, making it difficult to reconnect with life and relationships. At the same time, the brain's emotional regulation system breaks down. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for controlling impulses and managing emotions, weakens, while the amygdala, the fear center, remains on high alert. This imbalance can cause unpredictable mood swings, one moment feeling numb, the next overwhelmed by anxiety, anger, or sadness. A study from Vanderbilt University confirms that abuse disrupts emotional regulation, making it harder to feel in control of one's own reactions. The Bible warns, "A broken spirit dries up the bones," Proverbs 17:22. Emotional wounds left untreated impact every part of life, but healing is possible. Reconnecting with emotions, seeking support, and understanding that this response is not a personal failure, but a biological reaction, is the first step toward reclaiming your sense of self. Abuse doesn't just affect emotions, it also disrupts impulse control, making survivors more likely to engage in risky or self-destructive behaviors. This happens because trauma weakens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational decision-making and self-control, while keeping the amygdala in a state of high alert. When the brain is wired for survival mode, it struggles to slow down and think things through. As a result, survivors may act impulsively, engaging in substance abuse, reckless relationships, self-harm, or even aggression, without fully understanding why. Studies show that children who experience abuse often struggle in school, have difficulty following rules, and are more likely to engage in high-risk behaviors later in life. It's not because they're bad or broken, it's because their brains have adapted to a world where danger is constant. C.S. Lewis once said, "We are what we believe we are." If trauma teaches someone they are worthless or powerless, they may unconsciously live out that belief. But the truth is, healing is possible. The brain can rewire itself, and self-destructive patterns can be broken. Recognizing that these impulses are rooted in trauma, not personal failure, is the first step toward reclaiming control and making choices that lead to healing and hope. Abuse leaves deep emotional wounds, often manifesting as anxiety, depression, and PTSD long after the trauma has ended. The brain, having endured prolonged stress, becomes trapped in survival mode. Anxiety takes hold because the overactive amygdala constantly signals danger, even when none exists. Survivors may feel restless, hypervigilant, or struggle with racing thoughts, unable to relax. At the same time, depression sets in as trauma disrupts the brain's ability to regulate serotonin and dopamine, the chemicals responsible for happiness and motivation. Many survivors describe feeling numb, hopeless, or disconnected from life, as if a heavy weight is pressing down on them. Worse, memories of abuse can trigger PTSD, causing flashbacks, nightmares, and an overwhelming sense of fear, even in safe environments. But suffering is not the end of the story. The Bible reminds us, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. There is hope for healing, and the brain, though wounded, can recover. Through therapy, faith, and supportive relationships, survivors can slowly rewire their brains, reclaiming their peace and joy. Healing takes time, but no one has to walk that journey alone. The brain may be wounded by trauma, but it is also capable of healing. Through neuroplasticity, the brain can form new, healthier connections, allowing survivors to regain control over their emotions and thoughts. The first step is acknowledging the trauma. It was real, and it was not your fault. Many survivors blame themselves, but understanding that these struggles are a biological response to abuse is crucial for healing. Seeking help is another key step. Therapy, support groups, and faith-based guidance can provide the tools needed to rewire thought patterns and restore emotional balance. The Bible reminds us, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Psalm 34:18. Healing is not about forgetting the past, but learning to move forward without being controlled by it. With time, patience, and support, survivors can reclaim their peace, their identity, and their future. If this message resonated with you, know that you are not alone. Healing is possible, and your past does not define your future. If you or someone you love has experienced trauma, share your thoughts in the comments. We're here to support each other. If this video helped you, like, share, and subscribe to spread awareness and hope. Watch our next video, 4 Signs It's Emotional Abuse, Not Toxic Love, to learn more. As you move forward, remember, with God all things are possible. Your healing journey starts today.